Friends, today we are talking about some reseller myths that refuse to die. No drama. I am not calling anyone out. These are things that are just repeated over and over that do not help resellers make any more money. Some of these you might agree with. Some of these might challenge the way you run your business or you list. Just keep in mind, all of these things we're going to talk about comes from experience, from analytics, from talking to different platforms, and from years and years of reselling, both part-time and full-time. Oh, this is a big one. You must include measurements in all of your listings. I cannot tell you how often I have heard this. Do measurements help? Absolutely. Do some buyers click away if you don't include measurements? Absolutely. But not including measurements, is that going to tank your sales, or are you never going to sell anything if you don't include measurements? Absolutely not. You know how I know this? Number one, I have been on both ends of the spectrum on this myth. I started my reselling career. I never included any measurements. Ever. I didn't even come to my mind to include measurements. But remember, I also started selling on eBay 16 years ago. I did not include measurements at all. And then I actually spoke to an eBay employee a couple years ago, and the employee told me, we've run the numbers, we actually look at the data, and we know that measurements in clothing, specifically clothing, listings with measurements have like a 20 to 50% higher sell through rate than those that don't. And the way the employee told me, because if you are new around here, I am on the phone or chatting with these platforms multiple times a week. I am a huge advocate for staying on top of your listings, communicating with customer service. But this instance, I was actually escalated to a manager because we were dealing with this customer and a refund issue. And the manager and I we were on the phone for about an hour. And the manager was saying the way that we know the listings with the measurements sell more is because we compared the exact same items with the exact same quality of photos, and we compared, okay, does photo quality matter? This item has a white background, or the photos are more clear. This item has measurements and this item doesn't. So they had two Gap shirts that were very similar. The one with the clear photos, keywords, all the stuff we're supposed to do as resellers, but the ones specifically that had measurements sold way more often than the ones without measurements. That is direct from an eBay manager. Granted, this was a couple years ago, but I remember them telling me this is something that has trended and stayed the same for years. People, especially pre-owned clothing, multiple employees have told me at eBay that a lot of buyers, specifically women buyers, need those measurements. So many of us, and this is something I learned after my years of reselling and just being a grown-up and buying my own clothes, I'm a size 6. I'll just tell you, I weigh 150, okay? There are size 6s. My best friend is a size 6, and she weighs 120 pounds. So a size 6 that fits me is not going to fit a size 6 that fits her, right? So I can tell you, personally, I don't buy jeans online now unless they have measurements. So once I heard from that employee, I was like, you know what? Especially for bottoms, skirts, anything that doesn't have a stretchy waist, I do include measurements, but I don't put measurements on every single listing. T-shirts, really slouchy items. I'm trying to think of the categories where I don't put measurements. I don't know. I put measurements in a lot because when that eBay manager told me that a couple years ago, something kind of clicked in my head. I want to do every single thing I can to capture every sale I can. And even if I'm only losing 1 or 2 buyers a week, that's still 1 or 2 buyers that I want to buy my stuff. So I include measurements in almost all my listings now. But do not feel like if you do not do that you're going to have horrible sales. Will you probably miss out on some buyers? Yes. But is it worth it for you, time-wise, to do it? That's up to you, you know what I'm saying? But I just like to talk about that because so many, especially new resellers, are told, if you don't do measurements, you're going to fail at reselling. And I'm like, what? You're not going to fail. Will you lose some buyers? Yes. But if you don't want to measure everything, that's the joy of running your own business and being a business owner. You can run it however you want. I'm just letting you know that I do measurements now. So let me know your thoughts on that down below. Oh dear, I'm sure this one is going to ruffle some feathers. By the way, I never introduced myself until the middle of these videos. If you are new, welcome in. My name is Nikki. I've been a part-time reseller for most of my reselling career, over 10 years, and I am currently uploading daily. If you are watching this in December, I am uploading every single day. So subscribe. I was going to say consider subscribing, but just subscribe, friend. It's free. It's no skin off your back, and it helps me grow this channel. I am here multiple times a week, every day currently. If you're watching this in 2026, I will not be here every day, but I do upload at least 2 to 3 new videos every week, but currently I'm uploading daily. Make sure to comment. What else am I supposed to ask you to do? Thumbs up. All of that stuff helps the channel, and it's all free. Also, YouTube has a new feature where you can hype a video. So if you're watching on your cell phone or like a tablet, iPad, a Kindle, can you watch videos on Kindle? No, I don't think so. If you just swipe to the right on the comments, you can hype the video, and that's a way to help smaller channels grow. It's like giving a video a thumbs up. It tells YouTube, hey, I like this video. You should recommend it to people. So consider doing all of those things. Number 2, you have to wash everything. Now, yes, I am a reselling nerd. I have the policy from eBay, because if you did not know, eBay and Poshmark both have policies regarding used clothing. Oh boy, there's nothing more polarizing than talking about whether you wash or steam your items before you sell them. So let's go through the policy that eBay has. Now, this is the policy December 2025. If you're watching this a year from now, the policy may have changed. If you're watching this even 2 weeks from now, this may have changed. Okay, I have to give that disclaimer. But right now, December 2025, the used clothing policy from eBay says used clothing must be properly cleaned. That is the exact wording from the policy. But here's where a lot of people go off the rails with this. The policy does not say that every single item must be machine washed or steamed. It does not say that. It just has to be properly cleaned. I'm doing air quotes because that's exactly what it says, which depends on the fabric. So if something has dry clean only, or it's silk, or it's wool, or it's linen, or it's vintage, properly cleaned actually means following the care instructions. So that might be dry cleaning, it might be spot cleaning, and it might be steaming. This is from eBay's policy. I'm still reading from it. I'll probably put something on the screen so you're not just looking at me read. The policy, because I want to be very clear about this, the policy doesn't explicitly demand that sellers state that the item was washed or washed before listing in the listing. It just says properly cleaned. So basically they're saying you don't have to put in your listing, this was steamed or this was dry cleaned. A lot of times for my higher end stuff, I will do that. For example, this is a St. John made in the USA vintage sweater that I purchased from one of my real estate clients. And I can't decide. What do you guys think? Should I keep this? She said she bought this in 1990. It's very soft. I even left the shoulder pads in, even though I hate shoulder pads. I think I might keep it. She gave this to me for $10. I told you, I'll be their charity all day. But if I do decide to sell this, I'm going to dry clean it. And anytime I dry clean anything, I always put it in the description, especially for my higher end pieces, because those buyers love to see oh, this was professionally dry cleaned. It's pre-owned, it's vintage, but this seller went the extra mile and dry cleaned it. Sometimes I will even put in the pictures a picture of the dry cleaning receipt. I can't tell you how many people have messaged me and was like, thank you so much for letting me know it was dry cleaned. I get so grossed out buying used clothing. Just this year, I've had about 15 buyers tell me that. And I'm like, you know what? I should mention this to my friends. So if you ever dry clean something, definitely put it in the listing. But back to the policy. So there's no universal formal requirement that cleaning must be machine washed or steamed. And there's no publicly documented requirement that sellers prove that they cleaned it. Like, you don't need to show like pictures of you steaming. I think most of you know that. Or you don't even have to note the cleaning method in your listing. I just do it for dry cleaning because I know buyers really like that, especially on vintage. If you remember anything, there's a lot of tips in this video, but remember, like vintage clothing, higher end items, if it's pre-owned and it doesn't cost you that much to dry clean it, it can really be a unique selling factor for people. Okay, so I just wanted to state the policy, and I read the policy verbatim, what it says. I wanted to just talk about the policy before we move on. I'm pausing here because I don't know if I want to say this, but I'm just going to be honest because I want this to be helpful. Professional long-term resellers follow instructions from platforms, directly from the platforms, not even social media people like myself. I always tell you all this. I am not the end all be all. I don't know everything. Do not do everything that I say that I do in my business. So professional resellers follow the rules. They follow care tags and not social media trends and social media people. That's how I feel about whether or not you should wash your item or not. Your item needs to be clean. Point blank, period. If you need to dry clean it, if you need to spot treat it, if you need to steam it, if you need to wash it, whatever you need to do. And I will tell you, full transparency, because I am all about honesty here, I've done both. When I first started reselling, I didn't wash anything. I didn't have access to a washer. I was living in a very small studio apartment in Koreatown in Los Angeles, and to like go to a laundromat was like an all-day affair. I did not wash anything for years. As I became more experienced and I had more access to laundry, like I had laundry in my house, I started to wash things. I started to spot treat them. I even bought a steamer and started steaming things. I personally like steaming more than washing, but I do both. So full transparency, I do both. I wash, I spot treat, I do all of it. I dry clean and I steam. Do with that information what you will, but now you know the policy. Let me know. If you care to let us know what you do down below, let us know. We're all going to be nice. I always say my oldies but my goldies are awesome. We can all, chime in down below and be nice. All right, per usual, Nikki has been talking a lot. Subscribe if you like videos that you can just put on so you feel like you're hanging out with a friend. My videos are great to put on while you're photographing, listing. I always use the example of breastfeeding because I feel like the last 3 years of my life have just been like breastfeeding and potty training. If you are new here, I have a 2.5-year-old and a 5-year-old. So these videos are great to put on while you're working, driving. Don't look at me while you're driving, but good to listen, listing. It's good to feel like you have a friend while you're working because reselling can be lonely, friends. I feel that too myself. Sometimes when I'm just working on reselling, it's nice to just put on something to feel like you're working with someone. So I've been chatting a lot. I'm going to breeze through the next ones. Of course, I have notes. I am a nerd, okay? Listing every day is the only way to be a successful reseller. I think it's funny because I'm kind of being a hypocrite because I do list almost every day, but most of you know, right? You don't have to list every day to make money reselling. I do believe that these platforms, of course, reward you when you are active on their websites, on their apps. It just means more money for them. They want as many people all the time, always on their app, doing something, sharing, listing, reposting, buying, selling. So it does help, but it's not the only way to grow your reselling business. It's not the only way to make your business successful. Some people, the reality is, one of my close reselling friends, she's like, I can only list 20 items every 5 days. And so she spaces it out and she does 5 on Monday, 5 on Wednesday, and then she'll do the rest like sprinkled throughout the week. She can't list daily. You have to do what is best for you and your business. I do think it helps if you can list daily. Like currently, all of 2025, I have listed a minimum of 5 days a week. I'm not even going to say 7 days a week because I know there were some months where I was missing a lot of listing. And if you are new here, I do have a virtual assistant. She's been with me for, we calculated yesterday, almost 6 years. I found her during the Rona times. She's in Turkey. She and I are literally best friends. Like, I'm not exaggerating. She has, have I ever told you all that she's been to LA? Like, we had a conference work week. It was awesome. She's been here. I'm going to go to Turkey. Like, we are besties, and she is awesome. And she is part of the reason I'm able to be so consistent while working full time with 2 young kids. And I keep wanting to say new husband, but now that we've been married for a year and a half, I guess it's not new. And, you know, just life stuff. So do the best you can, but do not feel like you're not going to be a successful reseller if you don't list daily. Caveat, it does help. And I think if you want to like churn this machine and get as much money out as you can, even if you can only get a couple up a day, it helps. Whether that's 5 days a week, 7 days a week, it helps. But you do not have to list daily to be successful. Bread and butter brands are dead. I'm talking everything from Ann Taylor, J. Crew. I even sold a bundle of New York & Company button-up shirts, believe it or not. Some of you may not even know what that brand or store is. And I am here to tell you, people are still buying all of that. You wouldn't believe, one of my top 10 selling brands in 2025 was Talbot's. Another one in the top 10, J. Crew. So yes, is it great to find those super trendy, high-end pieces that everyone's talking about that we would love to find? Yes. But the reality of this business is, even for myself, I'm located in Los Angeles and I have amazing thrifting here. I have amazing consignment stores. I even have the most amazing sample sales that come here. It's hard sometimes to find inventory that's affordable to flip for a profit. So you know what keeps the lights on for me? Talbot's, J. Crew. I still haven't captured the Old Navy market. So many of my reselling friends do very well selling Old Navy, and I feel like I suck at it. Even live selling, like, I'm just not that great at selling Old Navy. I even have a bunch of it listed that's new with the tag. So if you're interested in some Old Navy that's new, click into my Poshmark closet. I always leave it linked in the description box. Send me an offer. I will probably accept it because a lot of that stuff has been listed for a long time. But bread and butter brands are very much alive. I actually did a dedicated video on this. It's a little bit old. I think it's like 3 years old. If I can find it, I will link it down below about how I make great money selling just bread and butter mall brands. I wrote down also J. Jill. One of my friends does nothing but sell Target. I don't know how she does it. I can't stand selling Target clothing. The only stuff I like, and I've actually did a dedicated video on this, is I love selling the Target collab pieces, you know, when they collab with designers or they collab with trendy design houses. I love selling that. I'm currently about to list a Target Lisa Marie Fernandez dress that I thrifted for $3. It's new with the tags. I thrifted it on Black Friday. If you haven't seen that video, that Black Friday Come Thrift With Me video, I will link it down below. So while some bread and butter brands might sell better for others and not great for you, it is worth checking comps, looking up the item. I can tell you what keeps my business going are those bread and butter items. I just shipped this morning a J. Jill jacket that I looked it up. I think it's like 10 years old, and I sold it for $50 on eBay, and I got it for $2 at the Goodwill outlet. I do very well selling bundles of items with bread and butter items. Talbot's bundles, J. Crew bundles. If you all want to see a dedicated video on what's selling for bundles, let me know. I feel like that could be helpful. So what I mean is, like, for example, I just sold a St. John bundle last month. I had 3 St. John sweaters and they were all a size large. I put them in one listing and I said, vintage, St. John, size large, knit, soft. I used all the keywords, sweaters. And that bundle sold for $180. I probably could have gotten more for that, and I paid $15 for each of those because they're all vintage, but it literally sold overnight. Sometimes you ever have that sale where it's like it sells so fast that you're like, maybe I shouldn't have accepted that offer, but you know what? I will take that profit. So if you want to see a video on that, let me know, but you can do great bundling up bread and butter, like lower retail items, and selling them for a profit. I love this quote from my reselling mentor. She said, when you talk about myths and what you should and you shouldn't do, a lot of that causes burnout. That is why so many resellers quit or they burn out. The idea that you have to do everything perfectly or you're doing reselling wrong. That is why most people quit or they burn out. You're not doing it wrong. You're doing what fits your life. I literally wrote that quote down. She gives me so many gems. If you are new here, my reselling mentor has no social media. She hates social media. She doesn't really like that I have this YouTube channel, but she has a small factory here in Los Angeles and she sells millions of dollars of clothing every single year. And she and I have like reseller chats a couple times a month. And I love when she uses that quote. She uses it a lot. And she uses it not even just in business and in reselling, but in life. You're not doing it wrong. You're doing what fits your life. So if you don't have time for measurements or you can't do measurements on every listing, do not do it. If you cannot steam every item, maybe you can wash it. Maybe you can do something else. You have to do what fits your life. Okay? You're not doing it wrong. You're doing what's best for you. And that's how I wanted to end that segment of the video. Hopefully you found some of this helpful, insightful. Hopefully nothing I said offended anyone. I think I gave enough disclaimers, whereas not to offend people. Always the people that are offended, though, do not watch the whole video. So I'm like, oh man, they probably think I'm calling them out. So we'll see. I may not even post this video. Let me know in the comments down below, what myth did you believe the longest, or did you follow the longest? If you are enjoying these daily uploads, if you like these types of reseller advice videos, subscribe. I'm also doing a $100 to $5,000 challenge on this channel. That's hard to say fast. Where I start with $100 initial investment, and I am not stopping that challenge until we hit $5,000 in profit, not even in sales. $5,000 in profit. So I'm really showing you how you can take $100 and start a successful reselling business. We've been to the Goodwill outlet in that challenge. We went to a multi-million-dollar estate sale. In the last video, episode 6, I actually share some of my online sources with you. So I share with you how I source on my computer from the comfort of my home. The items get delivered to me and then I resell those items. I feel like that is one of my most slept on videos. And you all need to be watching that because I don't share my exact sources with you all very often. Of course, when I'm going to like the Goodwill outlet, or a lot of you live in Southern California, so I'll go to a thrift store and you're like, oh, I go there all the time. Or some of you are even like, oh, Nikki, I saw you there with your kid. So yeah, if you figure out where I am by the video, fine. But I don't know that I've ever shared like on YouTube how I source online. So you need to go and watch that video because I share 2 very good sources that a lot of people don't know about. So I will leave a link to that playlist on the screen, and I will also put it down below.